Welcome back everyone to theCUBE's live coverage of MWC26. I'm John Furrier with Dave Vellante here. 3 days of wall-to-wall coverage. AI is coming into the telecom operators, it's changing the game. The edge will transform, the core networks are evolving, and the operators are changing their business model. We're seeing a lot of headroom, and a lot of new unlocking of value that will be coming over the next few years. We have AMD here. Derek Dicker is Corporate Vice President of Enterprise Business Group at AMD. Derek, great to see you again. Thanks for coming back on theCUBE.
Great to see you guys too. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You guys are the secret sauce to a lot of the systems that are being deployed, certainly on the AI large scale systems. All the large data, all the news, CapEx is up. The edge and the telecom networks are well positioned. And enterprises want their services, consumers want their services, and you know the power envelope is there.
People care about that.
It's not massive gigawatts and megawatts, but you got footprint, you got the facilities, you got the connectivity, you got the data. The telecom operators kind of sit in a good position. What's your view on this? Obviously it's a tailwind for telecom. Do they get it?
You know what I would say is, based on everything that I've seen at this show, the answer to that is unequivocally yes, they get it. I think the reality is we're at like day zero of the incorporation of AI into these networks. We see that. The beautiful thing from an AMD perspective is that we've been working on adding more and more value into the core networks as a starting point. We can talk about the other pieces, but we're doing it from the perspective of partnering with operators, understanding what their major challenges are, and then figuring out how we can deploy systems that they can build on top of. And one of the things we think we do pretty well is build high performant silicon, but at a very low power, and that helps with operating.
What are you hearing, Derek, from the operators in terms of what are those big challenges that you are uniquely designed to address?
Well, if I just use the example of the announcement that's hitting now from Deutsche Telekom, there was a partnership between ourselves, Lenovo, HPE, and Mavenir. That's just one example. Their problem statement was, look, today we actually leave our networks running even when capacity can be shuttered down because we don't have a lot of demand on the network. Take evenings as an example. What we did is we sat down, we partnered with how could we look at every every piece of the stack and optimize those. So Lenovo from a systems perspective, how to reduce the power of the server. Mavenir from all of the operating infrastructure. And then us, of course, on the CPU side, how do we deliver highly performant solutions but doing it at low power?
And they don't dial down the network because why? It's just too dangerous?
Historically, they've just always been able to run and operate those. It took work to go get all the different layers harmonized in one way. Every single layer of a stack has the ability to reduce power, but nobody sat down and gone and looked at it at that level.
Too complicated and too risky because you could screw something up.
That's exactly right, and the end result, by the way, is they announced today 65% energy efficiency gains by taking this approach, with a pathway for much more.
This brings up the whole software-defined trend we saw in the data center. Dave and I were riffing on a segment earlier today around, you know, when virtualization came into the data center, magic happened.
That's right.
Cloud, all kinds of cool things happened. Now you got AI operations in these networks. Similar dynamic with AI infrastructure. What's your reaction to that? Do you see a similarity of an unlock?
I think you've nailed it. I mean, if you just take RAN infrastructure as an example, virtualized RAN is actually becoming a reality now, and what we see with operators is an interest in deploying the technology for the reasons you talked about. They want the ability to autonomously have self-healing in networks to occur. They want operations to be automated in certain ways. We've actually just partnered with Samsung to deploy an example of this in their network, and the early results are fantastic. They're enabling 47 cell sites on a single server with advanced EPYC processors inside of them.
We just put out a research report. I wrote it yesterday, published it. I published it yesterday. Hyperconverged edge is emerging. I put emerging because it's kind of a future state, but it's pretty obvious that you put an intelligent node at the edge where there's limited power, but still power, and they don't need the big, large scale system. That node can talk to the central node. Models can change. You got the far edge with the spectrum.
That's right.
That converges in, that's networking.
Totally.
This is going to open up services, not just selling connectivity. So what do you think the progress bar is on the visibility of what this does for an operator? Because if they buy into that, then the next step is, okay, we got to move our pricing, change our pricing, go to usage-based pricing, go to services-based pricing, then the game changes because it's a different product.
Yeah, absolutely true. I think the reality is every one of them is trying to figure out exactly how to answer that question of where do we find the set of services that allow us to deploy, capture more dollars, more ARPU for the business itself. What we see is a lot of research development right now. I think it's very early in that evolution, but if you look at things like AT&T's recent announcement here, sponsored by GSMA, they're actually partnering with an ecosystem to go put models out that are telco specific that they can then go train and deploy out into the market and to do it in a consortium-like fashion. I think they're all searching for what is the best and fastest path.
Yeah, because 5G fell flat, let's face it. Now the connectivity was great, latency was great, but money making, not so much unless you go private. Is there, you mentioned core earlier, what's the playbook right now for these operators and carriers? What are they tackling first? What's the sequence of events on the path to go from day 0 to day 1? 0 to 1, I guess it's a...
That's totally fair. I think the single biggest thing that they're focusing on right now is how do they take their existing infrastructure that they deployed and make sure that they modernize it, predominantly for the purposes of preserving the performance and then lowering the power. Everything that I hear when we talk to customers is how can we actually take the power structure of these solutions and make them much more efficient. I mentioned Deutsche Telekom earlier. We have that same discussion with many others. So the equipment suppliers are all looking for the exact same path. That's kind of day one. On the heels of actually freeing that up, they get themselves a little bit of benefit and savings. It's then, okay, how do we add AI into the networks to take advantage of some of these capabilities that we're just starting to see emerge?
So we're here at MWC, they don't call it Mobile World Congress anymore, but AI and mobility is bringing back on-device inference is something that is, people can't wait to get their hands around. What do you see there? What's AMD's role?
Yeah, so from the perspective of our lineage, playing in these devices that you guys are using, laptop device is a huge piece of our activities. We've been very early in the integration of engines for the purposes of delivering AI technology into a computer. And not only do we that, one of the things I think AMD does really well is work with the ecosystem. So we partner really, really closely with Microsoft to end up putting out Copilot PCs that are optimized, wrapped around a set of silicon. It's a little bit like that carrier description I was describing how do you optimize silicon and software on top and create a set of use cases for users to go engage.
Is the line blurring? We're starting to see some pattern. We had Inseego earlier, VIA as a startup we're watching. They've got these devices that have both 5G and Ethernet. So you're already starting to see the collapsing of that node. That's going to open up the enterprise because we're also hearing here at MWC that the telcos are having penetration in the verticals.
Yes.
Healthcare, for instance.
Yep.
So what's that dynamic look like from your standpoint? How is that market developing?
From our perspective, the focus on our end is to go out and identify the different verticals and figure out where we can go add value from a CPU provider's perspective. So we go out, we partner with the ISVs that each of the telco providers are dependent upon, and then we jointly meet with them and tailor solutions. And that can sometimes involve bringing in OEMs, the large OEMs that you would know that are typically supporting these areas.
So I'm glad you brought that up because we all want to talk about AI and GPUs, et cetera, but it seems like when we talk to customers, they're like, we actually have to refresh our existing infrastructure to get ready for AI. So you have all these existing applications that there's this data and our systems are kind of outdated. What are you seeing in terms of that refresh cycle?
There's a massive and building infrastructure out there of what I'll call legacy servers. Servers built on 2-3 generations old, alternative suppliers of processing technology. A lot of the dialogue we have looks at doing a TCO analysis given the workloads that exist in customers, and it's across all the verticals that you were describing before. And we sit down and we find sometimes upwards of 6-7 to 1 compression that can occur from servers. Yeah, server consolidation. And what we're finding is in that discussion, it's like, okay, we're going to get all this OpEx savings, it's fantastic, love it. We now need to take that and invest in AI. So they get this double whammy effect of they compress the server footprint, so they get more room in their data centers because they're all bursting at the seams, and then they have the ability to actually take some of those savings and deploy it in the form of AI infrastructure.
So that becomes financing for AI.
Yeah, and they're designing the data center to be a system.
That's exactly right.
That's what's happening. It's not just a retrofit, rack and stack. You're actually being more dense.
For sure.
In the data center. I got to ask you about sovereignty because 2 years ago, Dave and I were talking about sovereign cloud, and we thought this is going to be really big, Dave. It's going to be like a 24-month, sovereignty. It's going to be big. So cloud goes hybrid, which is now everyone's agreeing that's happened. We kind of called that too. but AI flips into it. So all the top innovations we're seeing in agentic is hybrid, cloud, and AI native.
Yep.
Coming together. So sovereignty we're hearing more sovereign AI. So how do you guys view that? Obviously Europe is, they want to have country sovereignty, but for cloud and for the data.
It's a very interesting shift that I've seen in my career. There are now deep focused discussions on, as a set of countries, we want to get together and build out infrastructure in the context of sovereign, and it's largely driven by AI. We end up getting brought into that largely from the perspective of the set of technologies that we have available to provide. It could be on the GPU side for training infrastructure. It could be on the CPU side for just processing classic applications. But we're finding that there's more and more interest to actually co-locate in region these assets. And so we actually have set up a whole set of individuals to go out and engage, and it's worldwide. It's in each of the different geos.
It's interesting. It's AMD. You go back maybe 5, 8, 10 years ago, you're a chip company. Not anymore, you're an infrastructure company. Talk about the systems thinking behind AMD now. Give a quick update. Yeah. You mentioned some of the things you guys are working on for sovereignty, but bigger picture, zooming out, it's like AMD is a systems company. Yeah, software is involved.
I think the way that the AI implementations of the future are set up, there's an incredible amount of software infrastructure. It's multiple types of chips that need to be there. It involves setting up almost like reference systems. And so what we did actually as a company is we made an acquisition of ZT Systems a little while back, and we've taken those resources and put them into a project called Helios. We're actually doing a reference system of an entire stood up rack, 72 GPUs inside of it, advanced ultra Ethernet infrastructure and UA link inside of it to interconnect all these things. And we're deploying it out into the market later this year. And we've made some announcements of some pretty well-known companies that are going to adopt that technology. But you're absolutely right. What was a silicon provider before is now actually a full infrastructure provider.
Yeah, so that's not trivial, right? I mean, to do that, I mean, that takes a lot of engineering and a lot of time,
heavy investment.
But talk about the end outcome. What does that mean for you and your customers in particular?
Ultimately, what the customers are looking for is a way to implement AI without having to be involved in all of the depths of constructing a system and a solution. If we take that and we bake that into what we deliver out into the end market, but more importantly, Dave, we actually enable standards and allow people to innovate on top of it, we think that's the source of differentiation that we offer that maybe some of the others in the industry don't.
Help people understand sort of the opportunity, particularly interested in AI inferencing at the edge. Of course, we're here at the show and a lot of edge conversations. What's the unique requirement? The market sizing, I don't know if you got TAM, even rough. We just had a guest on earlier, said 70% is probably inferencing at the edge, 30% training. What are the unique requirements, and do you have any thoughts on sort of how the market develops?
I think the reality is, over time, we're going to see a ratio like what you described materialize. How that sits right here and right now, I don't know that I can necessarily give you a very specific answer. What we see happening is there's a whole different set of applications at the edge that are going to unfold, and the unique requirements from a hardware level we think are going to need to be tailored. And the beautiful thing for us is we have FPGA technology, we have mobile processing technology, we have CPUs for the data center, we have GPUs for the data center, we actually have GPUs for platforms that sit in desktops. Our goal is to work with the industry to go figure out what are the unique needs of those, and then go enable software and go play in that particular space. Well, I think it's going to be huge.
Well, that's an interesting challenge, because it's like there is no sort of unique or single horizontal need across all those verticals and all those use cases.
No.
You got to go in and really understand that, and then obviously determine if it's worth it to go after it, right?
It's like anything else, you have to deliver a business outcome, and you got to find out what the right solution is for it. We feel like we're fairly well positioned to do it.
Obviously the core to edge is a big theme. You guys are tackling the core now, because that's where the action is. AI infrastructure is the hottest category right now, so it's good to be an AI infrastructure developer. Define the hyperconverged edge in your mind. What's the vision for AMD? How do you see that playing out? Obviously there's multiple customer bases available, not just consumers, as enterprise. How does that evolve? Because the far edge wireless will be a very key piece.
Right.
And with hybrid cloud, you could see private environments emerging in metro areas eventually. Edge certainly opens up access to all kinds of far-reaching bandwidth with Spectrum. That's a bounded product. What's your view of the edge?
It's really interesting. I was sitting in a meeting here where we had this conversation around the edge, and the comment that was made, it was by actually a supplier of equipment in the space, says, look, you have to be really careful. There's like many definitions of edge, but the two big ones that we see is there's a network edge where the edge of the network actually literally stops, and there's technology that needs to be developed there. But then there's the enterprise edge, which is really, it's an enterprise use case located on-prem that has a different set of capabilities. For us, we're interested in developing for both. We see opportunities for both, but I think some of the common traits, power, obviously a big thing, making sure you have something that's power efficient, dealing with latency, having network technology, advanced network technology that are sitting there, but it's cost effective in both cases, I think are going to be the common tenets.
We were talking to someone on theCUBE yesterday, and they're like, in healthcare, they're going to want to have data centers in the hospital.
Yes.
But it's not your traditional mindset of, wow, that's a huge AI system. Just a classic, basically, computer.
Yes.
Server, basically, server.
That's right.
And a telephone closet or whatever.
Closet, exactly.
Like, maybe it's a rack, but it's not huge. But it will power that facility.
That's
and
exactly
do
right.
a lot of the camera work, the computer vision, all those things collapse into that piece. Is that the enterprise kind of view?
From our perspective, yeah, absolutely. And the thing that we're finding more and more is the demand for more highly integrated devices that deliver performance to handle, like you said, video workloads, maybe the workloads for the healthcare software on top of it, that only continues to grow. So having higher degree of core counts inside CPUs and doing it in an efficient way is something that the customers are coming to us for. And then on top of it, it just becomes how do you build the right form factors and address the different unique requirements.
What are some of the hardest things your engineering team is working on? I mean, I know there are many, but maybe you could give the audience a sense of a few of them that are real challenges, industry challenges that you guys are attacking.
Maybe I'll tackle it just across a couple of examples. At the system level, it's pretty profound that we're taking 72 GPUs, putting them into a rack, connecting all of it, having it be a water-cooled infrastructure, and enabling it as an ecosystem, as a reference design to put out into the industry so that they can innovate on top of it. Like the level of work that goes into that from a software perspective, a silicon perspective, but then on top of it, the mechanical engineering, et cetera, that's kind of one set of work. The second is actually just to continue on the path of delivering higher and higher, I'll go down to the chip level now, higher and higher levels of core counts. We're talking 256 cores in a single device at top of stack for a data center class product. Right. That's the Venice product that we've talked about. It's just an incredible amount of work that needs to be done at the silicon level and the packaging level of the products. I'm super blessed, I feel, to work with people who can do that.
And you guys got a lot of things going on in the market. Just share some things you're working on, events. What are you guys focused on? Give a quick plug for AMD.
Well, I think the one thing that we're most proud of is our Advancing AI Day. It's an event that we've had a couple of now that continues to gain momentum, so you can expect that we'll talk about that at some point in the not too distant future. Obviously MWC for the telco work that we're doing is a big deal, and for those who didn't see it at CES, our CEO, Dr. Lisa Su, was present with an outstanding set of announcements and customers.
So. We saw her at the GSA Awards in December. Didn't get a chance to grab her on theCUBE. We had theCUBE there. Final question for you, Derek. MWC this year, how would you summarize the headline and top story this year at MWC?
Maybe in two different ways. AMD, I would say, what we're seeing is everything that we've been working on to set up a presence in the core and the RAN, it's all materializing into deployments with demonstrated proof points. That's super exciting. I'd say at a macro level for the industry, the amount of AI and interest in AI is not surprising. I think how it progresses and gets deployed into the networks, I think we're still working our way through it, but the opportunity seems huge.
I mean, they're going to convert into operators of AI platforms. I mean, managed services and all kinds of new things are going to unlock. Great, thanks for coming on, appreciate it, and congratulations on the success.
Good to see you, Derek.
Thank you guys, great to see you too, I appreciate it.
AMD here on theCUBE, breaking down the AI future as the infrastructure is moving accelerated very fast. It's going to unlock a lot of new use cases, certainly Telecom is one, enterprise is the other, and of course the society benefits and the user experiences will just skyrocket. We're expecting a lot, certainly on the far edge with the radio frequency as well, all coming together at the edge. This is theCUBE bringing you all the action from the edge here in Barcelona. Thanks for watching.